Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I hope you're having a great holiday season. This is the shorter holiday season where people try and convince you that some kind of combination of cranberries and gravy and mashed potatoes and green beans and turkey is the meal that you've been waiting for your entire life. That's apparently how it goes. I always love the whole turkey. Nobody really wants turkey. Now this isn't like an Arby's thing where like the turkey is going to kill you. It's more like, people get excited about like a really good steak, or they're going to go out and they're going to get some fresh, rainbow trout or some salmon that they're going to grill up, or hell, even like, get some good golden fried chicken, whatever it happens to be. But nobody's like, you know what? I've been just desperately hoping that we could have a fancy feast tonight of turkey. Now it's just not. It's not. It's the it's just not it's the America Chavez of food. No, that's not fair. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that to turkey. Anyway, one of the things I want to talk about here that I want to talk about for a while is at times I see people in the comments, they make they make a comment kind of more or less like, why are you getting so worked about it? Why you get so worked up about this? It's just comics. And that's always the way it's described. It's just comics. And I'm sure many of you in various forms have heard that, like, why, it's only comics. Why is this really something to get that upset about? Is it, or that excited about? Either way, positive or negative. When you run a comic shop, I remember having these moments all the time. When the Death of Superman came out, I had a line kind of out the shop and around the shop and down kind of a little courtyard there. People would say things, people would like, oh, I don't know what the big deal is. It's just comics, they would say. Well, I mean, as somebody who's selling those comics and having a hell of a good day, making a lot of money, it's more than just comics. It's a pretty goddamn good day of comics. And so there's, whether it's a monetary reason or, if I've been reading comics, if you calculate up for me or for you, the amount of hours you've spent in your life reading comics, it's a lot of time. You've put a lot of your life into comics. Hell, if you're just listening to this show, there's what has to be 100,000 hours. No, not that much, but there's thousands of hours of content here on this channel, just this channel, let alone all the other stuff you're listening to. So there's you've spent a lot of your time into comics. So when somebody says to you, what are you so worked up about? It's just comics. It probably feels a little bit like an insult. And one of the reasons it feels that way is because it's absolutely intended as an insult. It's not intended as a friendly little kind of nudge about what's going on in the world of comics. It's meant to say, hey, this is stupid. Why are you wasting your time? Or why are you getting upset about this? There's no reason to get upset about this. It's only comics. It's not anything to worry about. And in a lot of cases, it's used as a dismissal of somebody who doesn't have a good argument on their own. Like, hey, I've decided to say that, the comic books in the last 2 years are the best comic books that have ever been produced, and Jack Kirby sucks. And, oh, you disagree with my hot take? Well, what are you so upset about? It's just comics. I find that the entire thing is on its surface, it's disingenuous. It's trying to kind of it's basically saying, hey, your impassioned argument against me, I have no rebuttal for. So instead, I'm going to pick at your passion instead. But I want to look at the phrase "it's just comics" and kind of really peel back a bunch of aspects to it. Regardless of where you think the American comic industry is at, the reality, the hard reality, is that comics are still pulling in hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Western comics, let alone manga and other things, there's a lot of money that's coming into comics. One of the things in a recent video, I put up a Secret Invasion sales analysis. And one of the things I think I mentioned there was like the whole series is made about 8 million, memory serves. No, not quite that, 7 million, I don't know, something like that, $78 million of revenue for the floppies. And some people said, oh, that's not very much money. I mean, it is a lot of money. But the thing to keep in mind is Marvel, shoving out 80 to 90 books. Obviously, they're not all making that money. But, when you calculate them out, you're talking about a business that's putting out quite a lot a year. Just Marvel. DC, despite all of the criticisms, despite the various accusations that they're about to implode at any moment, they're still churning out a decent amount of money. You couldn't walk in there and I don't remember. Somebody's video was talking about the screen capture. I think it was Heather Antos said something like, "Hey, why don't we all go raise money to buy Twitter back?" And I mean, it's laughable on its surface. Of like, why you're all going to go raise $44 billion? I mean, maybe it's worth less now. I don't know, but that's just absurd. The absurd part to me, though, and maybe this is what the video was commenting on. I haven't heard it yet. Was why wouldn't you go raise that money to buy DC or Marvel or IDW or any of them? Why wouldn't you go do that? I mean, those comics, first of all, they're not for sale. But if you did walk in the door with $44 billion, Disney will sell you Marvel. They absolutely will. They'll sell it to you tomorrow. DC would take that deal. When Time Warner was shopping, at least to see if somebody would come in and potentially buy it, I guarantee you. So if somebody put $44 billion down on the table, they would have taken it. If somebody would put $4 billion on the table, they would have taken it. But anyway, be that as it may, uh, this is a business that churns out a decent amount of cash. It absolutely does. It's easy to forget about that when we're clowning on various shenanigans and hijinks and misspellings and bathtubs in front of doors and the art and all the rest. It's still, despite all that, it is still bringing in quite a bit of money. And that's let alone all the auxiliary pieces, let alone everything else. It's just comics is a stupid statement. Financially, it's an equally, if not more stupid statement emotionally. I hate the example of you don't need to get worked up about something that in theory you're designed to love. And that's the part that a lot of people I think forget about is comics and media and these projects. They're intended, in fact, the creators themselves forget about this too. They're created for you to fall in love with, for you to embrace, for you to buy. The most disingenuous thing about the whole, like, why are people upset when we gender or race swap a character? Well, there's a very easy answer to that, and the answer is you, the company producing this, you have spent decades building up loyalty in these characters, pushing people to love them, to embrace them, to remember them, to buy merchandise of them, all the rest. You have been pushing for this outcome. And now that people are attached to these things that you push them to get attached to, you've altered them. So as the business holder, as a person who owns the right to do that, it's certainly within your right to change them. But it's not within your right to be shocked and surprised, unless you just really enjoy being an idiot, to be shocked and surprised when people object to these dramatic changes of the things that you have personally pushed them to love. That's just, again, this is somewhat emotionless. It's a fact of life. The emotionless bit being, this is just logic. Obviously, there's a lot of emotion in comics, but it all gets me back to, it's just comics. Yeah, it's just comics. A business, a thing that has sustained hundreds, if not thousands, of mom and pop business shops that have built kind of their entire, their livelihood on comics. It's generated millions, tens of millions of hours of reading time, and it is in the iconic kind of memory of tons of people. So yeah, just comics is a stupid statement. Whenever somebody makes that comment, and I always see it for what it is, which is you are intentionally trying to downplay something in order to make your pathetic little argument better. But in reality, that's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to feel bad about. If somebody tells you that this comic stuff, this hobby, this thing is really not that important, again, remember, there have been businesses, there have been livelihoods, there have been memories, there have been years of people's experiences devoted into comics. These little floppy, these things that don't matter, right? These things are a critical part of our culture, as much as football, as baseball, as all kinds of different sports. Also generates money, also generates attention, also gets a lot of attachment. This is, just saying it's only comics doesn't give us an excuse to treat those things like shit. And that is kind of the problem. And so I say this for a couple of purposes. Number one, it's okay that we take these things seriously. Trying to, diminish someone's attachment or seriousness about comics is stupid. It's, the entire thing has been built for you to care. Don't insult somebody for caring. Yes, it's absolutely true. There are people who care too much to let it go from something that is a hobby they care about into an obsession. For sure, that can definitely happen. But the reality is, comics matter. It's just comics. Don't worry about it. It's just comics. It's a dumb phrase uttered by a dumb person. Yes, you should try and have perspective in your life, which also means acknowledging that some of these things are a pretty big deal to people. And if it wasn't, where would any of this be? Then truly comics would be dead. Anyway, just throwing it out there. It comes up from time to time. No, somebody didn't tell me that, and I felt butthurt and decided to do a video about it. It hits in comments, in the messages. It hits in emails from time to time. Why are people so worried about this? It's only comics? Exactly. That's exactly why they care about it, because it is only comics. Thanks for listening.